A few videos back, I made some kind of a promise that I would try and start my comic that I have been wanting to do. You can say that this drawing I am going to do here is that start to my comic project Romancing Dragon. I still haven't forgotten that I said I wanted to do this project, but it sure is slow in going. Right now, I want to do some updated character drawings for the comic. Well, what better way to start than with a new updated drawing of my character Ella Linsdack. Right now, I decided to just warm up with some sketches to start off with. I also wanted to try some new ideas for the character. You see, I always felt that something needed to be added to the design, but I don't know what. So I did something a little controversial. I decided to input my character description into an AI image generator and see how AI would draw out my character. I decided to try and use the Microsoft Designer Image Creator and got some interesting results. It was interesting to see how AI got pretty close to what I have, but it also wasn't my character Ella either. However, there was something about the images that sparked my creativity. That is what prompted this sketch session. I decided to sketch out some of the ideas that I saw, but mostly a lot of the ideas didn't match Ella's personality. She is simple in wear. She isn't into extravagant clothing or other trinkets. She has always been taught to dress simple and dress nicely. Overall, the AI images were nice. I did try to use some of the ideas in the images. I did sketch them out, but I opted not to use a lot of them. They were too much for Ella, and I just went with the basics. The overall sketch drawing of Ella went pretty well. I did enjoy this part of the sketch session. The interesting thing is that the only thing I did keep from the AI images was that I decided to finish off Ella's red scarf by adding in the ends of the scarf. Other than that, everything I pretty much kept the same. I did try to add in some better style boots on her feet. I think in the end that went well. Overall, I really do like the drawing that I did. I did post it to my social media accounts, and I did get back the usual feedback, which was good. Some did like the added scarf details. I do think that this design just might work out. Okay, next I decided to take that drawing and scanned it into the computer. I took that scan and brought the image into Krita. I am starting to use this program more and more. Honestly, I do like this program. I do still use Photoshop too. I noticed that there are some things that I like about both programs, but right now I have this old computer that I'm looking to upgrade. It's a long story that is for another video that I might do someday. Right now I use Photoshop CS6. Yes, it's an old version of Photoshop, but I do like using it because it's paid for and I don't have a subscription to keep paying to use it. Krita is a very powerful paint program that is free to use. That still boggles my mind that somebody can give away a powerful piece of software like this for free. And a piece of software that is still supported on my computer. Okay, I digress again. So I took that drawing and scanned it, brought it into Krita to do the digital line art. I like the digital line art functions in Krita. The line smoothing functions are really nice. I know most paint programs today has this function today, but I like it. It's nice. Onto the coloring of the drawing. Krita does make coloring easy in some ways. At least laying down the flat colors was nice. I do like using it for that. Usually, I will lay down the flat colors and import the rest into Photoshop. Today, I decided to keep going and try and use Krita as my primary coloring option. All I can say is that the journey was interesting. I started out with the coloring looking at my reference picture. And yes, you should always try and use a reference. And I was trying to see where to place the shadow points on the picture. As you can guess, I made a few mistakes. I would fully render an area of my drawing, and to me it would look good at the time. Then I would take a break, just walk away from the drawing for an hour to get something to eat or do whatever. I would come back to the drawing and think that it doesn't look right. With that, I would take that area and just redo the rendering. The nice thing about doing digital work, you can select the flats layer and select the areas you want to redo and just redo the rendering layers easily. I always do the rendering of the colors on a separate layer. That way I can go back and redo areas without any pain. I try and work with as few layers as I can. In the past, I would use one layer for the hair and one layer for the shirt and so on. It was hard to keep track, so now I have one layer for flat colors and one layer for shading, one layer for highlights, and one for effects. Mostly that's it. This one I would add one more layer for the wood grain in her staff. Okay, tutorial part done. The coloring part of this was nice. I did in the end like using Krita for the coloring. The way I like coloring is I just use a basic round brush and just use that for coloring. I do like using Photoshop for the fact that you have more control in the options for the brushes. You might have that in Krita, but I haven't found that yet. So sometimes I like to have a soft edge in my cell shading. In Photoshop, you can change that softness with a simple slider in the brush options panel of the program. Krita, the round brush only has the simple hardness of it. It's a smooth hardness and I like that, but I also wanted that softness too. So I found the blending brushes. Those worked. I like using those brushes. It was a little hard to control at first because they blended stronger the harder you applied pressure on the tablet. I just wanted a small amount of softness, so I had to push lightly on the tablet. That was hard for me at first because I am so heavy-handed in my work. The background, I wanted to do something different than what I usually do. I usually just pick a gradient I like and place that in the back and call it done. Today I placed a little more thinking into it and used simple circles. I then took those circles and added a blur to them. It was simple and to me, it added a little more niceness to the drawing, I think. I hope you like that too. Time to put the finishing touches and add my signature of approval on this drawing of Ella. If you like this drawing and want to see more of me drawing Ella Linsdack, you might want to check out this video that I have right over here. I'm drawing Ella in a more dynamic pose this time. Might prove to be more interesting? Only one way to find out. With that, I thank you much for watching and we shall see you next time.